Focal makes some of the finest loudspeakers in the marketplace. However, this is not simply a loudspeaker. This is an entire integrated system. And it's not only, along with its partner over here, an integrated system, but based on what we've listened to in the last couple of days, it's the finest integrated system that we've ever heard. I'm Joe with Gramophone, and today we're lucky enough to be with Garrett Farnham with Focal. Garrett, how are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We want to talk a little bit, obviously, about Diva Utopia, because this is one of the most unique products I've personally ever seen, and I've been in this industry for more than a few decades. So maybe the place to start is not necessarily with the woofers and tweeters and all the component parts that make up this system, but let's start with why you decided to do an integrated system at this quality level and this performance level, because we've all seen integrated systems in the modest price levels, the entry-level price levels, but I don't know that there's anything quite like a complete system at this performance level. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how Focal came to this point.
Yeah, so we found that as you move into the high end, there is more or less two customer demographics, right? There's the people who this is their passion, and those are the guys who are buying the $100,000 pair of Utopia speakers and $50,000 of Naim gear. Then there's a customer who doesn't want any of that, but they still want something really nice and high end that sounds good and looks good, but they don't want all the boxes. So we said, let's take all the good stuff about these big name stacks and all the good stuff about these Focal speakers and shove them into one box to create a true high-end system without necessarily having to commit to buying 5, 10, 20 boxes in some cases.
So the decision-making process is actually already solved for the customer.
100%.
If they like what this sound quality is, they buy this. There is no stack of gear. No, can I mate that preamp with that power amp? Does it work well with this DAC? And oh my gosh, that pair of cables and blah, blah, blah. You're good to go right here.
100%. You need a power outlet and network. That's it.
So Garrett, obviously we want the product also to fit the lifestyle of the individual consumer. And one of the huge benefits of what you guys have done with Diva Utopia is that these panels are actually removable. If I've got a finish that in mind that would work better in my home than this finish, obviously being felt, it's fairly easy to do that, right?
Yeah, so every Diva Utopia launches with the gray felt finish. We wanted to launch it with something neutral and inoffensive. And if you actually want to just pull on that, flip that around and pull off the top panel.
You bet.
You can see we already have the bottom panel removed, and you can just pop it right off. It's Velcro with some alignment blocks. And coming soon in 2025, we'll have a couple more finishes available that'll start to slowly trickle out to market.
So this is the alignment block.
Yep.
This part right here. And all we have to do to put the new finish on would be to go like so.
Yep.
And basically we're done.
100%.
Love it.
And to the concerned audiophiles out there, we've done some really remarkable work on the cabinet. So the entire cabinet is made out of a really high density polymer, which makes it almost entirely inert. So by having these panels on the side, we don't affect the acoustic quality at all, switching to something like potentially a hardwood or a lacquer finish versus the gray felt. It's going to sound identical, and the panels are merely cosmetic. There's no actual structural integrity changed by swapping out the panels.
So Garrett, as you know, there are some huge advantages in an integrated system in terms of being able to match up speakers and amplifiers and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about the thought processes as you guys were working through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So 13 years ago, Focal actually purchased Naim. This is the first product we've ever actually been able to collaborate and bring to market as a single unit. And what we realized as we started exploring active products is by having all the smarts in there and using things like active DSPs, by controlling both the amplification and the drivers in a single cabinet, the amplifier knows where your drivers are at all times. You're never going to harm the speaker by taking it to 100%. We don't have to worry about clipping. We can do compressors where we need it. And we're able to create a really, really cohesive product that is truly voiced the way we want it to be voiced. You take a Focal speaker and put it on any other electronic, it's going to sound slightly different because every component changes the sound slightly. By keeping it all in-house and keeping it all in one design, we're able to truly control and create the best musical experience that you can get out of a single speaker.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of two things. All of you, our viewers, know that you've got this amplifier and you're very happy with how it works with this speaker. And now you swap it for a different amplifier and you realize, oh, that actually sounds better. Oh, that I don't want. Give me my old amplifier back. So that not only is it the matching, though, of components, but then on top of it, the distance between the amplifier and the speaker, as you say, is known. And when you start bringing DSP into the picture, you can truly start optimizing those roughly 4 decades or so of Naim electronics experience.
100%.
And those 5 decades or so now, I think, of Focal speaker experience. And you can truly bring them together because with DSP, you can get the most out of everything that's underneath this hood. And I think that's a tremendous advantage in terms of when we sat and listened the other day. I mean, I was hearing some things that kind of shocked me that I thought, wow, I haven't heard that before. So as an integrated package, I think there's a big, big benefit there.
Oh, 100%.
You know, with all that as a backdrop, maybe we can start talking about the individual components. And if you don't mind actually starting just by talking, again, a little bit about the cabinet itself, because an inert cabinet is a massive benefit with a loudspeaker.
It's incredible. So we're able to use what we call a high density polymer, like a really thick, heavy plastic. The benefit is really, it doesn't vibrate that much. We're able to create a really consistent performance that you might not necessarily get out of an MDF or a traditional wood cabinet. And we have a lot of experience in it, actually. If you look at the Canta series, that front panel is the same material. So we said, this works great for the Canta. How do we take this to the next level? So we made the entire cabinet out of that. You can see it's fully molded, and inside there's all this internal volumetric geometry that all flows down to a bottom port, just like you would find on a Sopra. And we found that we could create this really powerful, incredibly deep, rich tone to the speaker that just wasn't possible with any of our other lines because we're amplified. Right. In the nuts and bolts, you're going to find 2 6-inch woofers on either side of the speaker. So a total of 4 6-inch woofers. The same W cone material you'd find on the rest of the Utopia line and the Sopras.
Okay. So it's a true Utopia type product.
100%. You have the same W cone material for our mid-range. Again, just like the Sopra and Utopia line. Utopia level beryllium tweeter. This is actually a brand new tweeter you won't find in any of our other products. That's why it's the black finish, and you can kind of see a little bit of red in there on the sides. Brand new design on the entire rear of the unit that is not found in any other Focal product today.
And so this was developed specifically for this project.
Absolutely. And our entire goal was to create something that could handle a much higher SPL while also reducing distortion. So the entire tweeter shape is different than the Utopia series. The actual attachment point, the suspension, is completely different. And the entire rear of the tweeter is completely different. The only thing shared between this and the current Utopia line is that it's made out of beryllium, really.
And I will attest that when we started playing these, after literally the first song or two, we started playing loud. And these will get loud without distorting, which is very impressive, because I think that's one of the questions that sometimes comes about with an integrated system is, well, but will it really perform like something else? And I think from everything you're saying, in some ways it will perform better than something else simply because it's all integrated and you've got the advantage of the engineers having everything under their control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here at Gramophone, we love having you along for the ride. So if you haven't done so far, please like and subscribe.
And hit the bell for updates.
So Garrett, many of our customers, of course, are familiar with, and maybe some of you actually have, biamping in your systems, or even bi-wiring, which is kind of bringing you partway towards the biamping advantage. But we all know that there are some huge advantages if you don't have just simply one amplifier driving the entire speaker assembly, because the woofers are always moving back and forth and generating their own components back into the amplifier. So it's a big benefit if you can biamp, or in a few cases, even triamp. But we've got something better than that in this one.
Oh, we've got something special. So alongside the DSP, we actually have 4 independent amplifiers per speaker. So you have 125 watts by 2 for your woofers. You have 75 watts for your mid-range and 75 watts for your tweeter. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, woofers need a lot more power than tweeters and mid-ranges do, and we don't necessarily need to feed the whole assembly 400 something watts, right? And your woofers, like you mentioned, generate current back into the system, right? That's why you want to look for an amplifier with a really high damping factor to help prevent that and help stop the drivers when they need to stop. We're able to do that really well by having their own amplifier. Then we stack our DSP on top of that. And now each bank of drivers is able to be controlled independently. Your needs at 75% of your volume are different than your needs at 5% of volume. We're able to dynamically adjust that through the entire volume range of the speaker.
Yeah, the DSP is really giving you a fantastic advantage. And I think when I first looked at this, I didn't realize what an audiophile component it truly is, but you'd never know it's an audiophile component because it's all this heritage of name and focal and all of what you've developed together, but it's all sort of concealed in a lifestyle-oriented presentation. So it's really not that you're getting less of an approach than you would if you were doing componentry, but you're getting an approach that the componentry thing can't bring to the table because no matter how good that amplifier sitting over there is, that amplifier engineer doesn't know what speaker you're going to match up to.
Yeah.
And with the DSP on top of it, you can dynamically be interacting with how the music is sounding at all times. And as you pointed out, at all volume ranges. And I think that then, because you've got DSP all throughout the system, takes us to our next topic, and that's the effect of the room. Because as you know, nobody's got a perfect listening room, and some are very far from perfect, especially I think, in situations, I'm from Chicago, and in a lot of the big cities, you've got people who are living in living spaces that are beautiful living spaces, but they're certainly not laid out the way you would lay out an ideal listening spot. So maybe you can start talking about what you've done with room correction.
Yeah, so I'd like to preface this. We are still an audiophile company. And yes, this is a lifestyle product, but like you said, this is an audiophile product. So what we've developed is a microphone-less room correction system. It's not quite like the room correction that you'd find on an audio video receiver or a processor. Instead, we took a step back and said, what can we account for easily by moving the speaker? And what's a lot harder to overcome if the speaker has to stay in one position. So if you've ever set up a pair of speakers, your tweeter and mid-range are pretty easy to dial in. You either adjust your toe in, toe out, you push the speakers a little bit closer together and get the energy just right. But bass management becomes an incredibly difficult task to do. So what we've done is right in the app, you click a button and it walks you through step by step. You actually measure from different portions of the speaker to the nearest wall, and it walks you through with pictures and images and nice little buttons. And what we start to do is do active bass management. And as you sit and go through the process, you actually have little sliders and adjustments that you can make it more controlled and apply more correction. You can actually turn the correction down. It all depends on what you want in the room and how you want your room to sound with these speakers. But it has helped really overcome a lot of issues with room placement. And it is incredible what kind of difference it makes within the room.
That's what we haven't done so far is do that process to make them their best. And so as good as they've sounded in our listening tests, I know it's going to be even better once you do that. It's interesting. You mentioned just turning the speaker a little bit, because I mentioned we did a review, and we'll put a link in the description, of Canta 2. This was maybe 3 months ago. And they seemed a little bright to me, but they were pretty heavily towed in.
Yep.
And as soon as we towed them out just a little bit, oh, there it is. Sounds great. Now I'm not thinking that they're bright in that room anyway. But simultaneously, it's impossible to get two speakers aimed directly at the seated listening position so that the imaging is perfect and that they are in the ideal place in the room for bass. Yeah. That's just not possible. That's why people add subwoofers.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys have got the room correction really focused more on the bottom end, I think is fantastic, because you can control this energy a lot. You can't necessarily control that bass energy unless you're doing what you're doing, and that's individually amplifying the woofers and then using DSP.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it. But Garrett, there's a lot of connectivity options on the back. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
Let's start with the primary speaker. So these get shipped out as a matched pair. So you have one primary unit, which has the majority of your connections. Then you have a secondary unit, which is some miscellaneous things, but we'll get to that in a second. We start over here on the primary unit. You'll notice the usual HDMI eARC. So you can hook this up to a TV and control it with your single remote. You have an optical if you don't actually have HDMI eARC, or if you wanted to use something like a CD player, for example. Then you also have an analog input. So if you wanted to hook up a CD player, or if you wanted to hook up a turntable with an outboard phono preamp, you absolutely could do that. Then there's a couple other little tiny things, right? So we have a USB port. If you wanted to actually plug in a hard drive or a USB flash drive with downloaded music on it, you're able to access that through these. Then you have a network cable. It's super straightforward, super easy. The goal is to get this as plug and play of an experience as possible. You'll also notice here we have another RJ45 down below. This actually is a speaker link between the two speakers.
So that's this one.
Yep, that's this on this side. So you have two options to pair the speakers together. One, you can hardwire them. That gets you true high resolution, as well as the lowest possible latency between the two speakers.
Right.
But don't fear about running these wirelessly. They were developed in part with ultra wideband technology. So the actual delay between them is the equivalent of 0.001 centimeters of difference between them. The margin of error and the latency that you'll get pairing these wirelessly is so impossibly low that quite literally speaker placement will cause more delay between the two speakers than the wireless technology will.
Got it.
That technology is good for about 15 feet or so. Or if you're in a noisy RF environment, like a condo or apartment building where all of your neighbors all have Wi-Fi broadcasting at full strength, it might be a good idea to pair them with a hard cable. Mm-hmm. This is just a standard RJ45. Mm-hmm. So you can use the included one that is about a 10-foot cable, or if you wanted to create a custom length one for your home, you could absolutely do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And any other connections here that...
No.
Here we've just got a status light.
Just a status light. There's a pairing button that if you have to factory reset and repair them, you can do that. But I don't think most people will need to do that very often, if hardly ever.
But the option is there.
Yeah.
And this is a service port.
Yeah. That's just for our team to deal with.
Love it. Clean, simple, easy. The consumer can do this. Although, of course, at Gramophone, we'd want to come and help with the install. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's go through the app and show how easy it is to use the Diva Utopia right from your smartphone or iPad. So we're here in the app, and you can see all of the great name pieces that Gramophone is showing here in Timonium. We're going to click right into our Diva Utopia. Right here from our home screen, we have all of our inputs and settings right here at the top. We have a couple little presets, as well as some pre-made radio stations through Naim Radio. Let's say we want to switch over to our TV. We click HDMI. Now these are on their HDMI input connected right to the TV. And just as easy as that, your TV remote will now control the volume of our speakers. But I don't want to watch TV right now. We want to hit some music. We're going to go right here into Qobuz. And look, right here, we have all of the music we could ever want. We can sit down, we can actually filter this, or I can come over here in the top right corner and search for what I want to listen to. I'm in a Taylor Swift mood today. And there it is. Everything you'd expect right from our streaming apps. We can also come back to our homepage and access all of our settings. There's the room correction we talked about earlier. We can log into different services and accounts. System settings, app settings, or we can even put the speakers fully into standby.
Garrett, we want to thank you for coming along and taking us through this wonderful product in Diva Utopia. Here at Gramophone, we've seen lifestyle products and we love them, but we've never seen anything quite like this that brings so many of the audiophile solutions, things that people who are way into the component world love to see in their products, and more with all the DSP solutions and quad amplification that you've brought to this product. But it also has everything that the lifestyle customer wants as well, because it's so simple to hook up and the app makes it so simple. So we can't urge you enough to check out Vocal's Diva Utopia. It's a spectacular solution product, and we love listening to music on these. For more information, go to gramophone.com and check out Sky by Gramophone, where you always get fast and free shipping straight to your door. We'd love to meet with you if you can. We've got stores in Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, Maryland. If you come to the Timonium store, you've got to check out our Experience Center, where you will hear some spectacular products, including Focal Maestro, spectacularly displayed. And check out our Kitchen Design Center in Hunt Valley as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you soon.